We're still in Antigua, and whenever you're watching, whether it's in the morning, the afternoon, or the evening, we are enjoying a beautiful day. This is going to be a very special episode because I am here with Karen Kelly, and you have a great story to tell. And a lot of people will know you from the industry, but we got a lot of viewers to the channel who are basically either potential charter guests or people that own boats and not necessarily know who you are. So would you mind just giving us a little bit of insight on yourself, please, Karen?
My name is Karen Kelly Shea, and I'm with Nicholson Yachts. I own the office in Newport, Rhode Island, and I've owned that office since 1997, and I joined Nicholson late in December 1989, and have worked ever since in charter management, as a charter broker now, and I have done some yacht sales as well, and have been involved in the Antigua Show organization off and on for
we're going to get to that very soon, because that's this is a special place for Nicholson. It really is. So in 1989 you joined Nicholson. Were you active in the industry before that already?
I was with a company in St. Thomas called Homeport, and I had been there about 8 years. And then after Hurricane Hugo, felt like moving on, and Julie Nicholson offered me a job to come. Julie and Rodney Nicholson to come to. Julie wanted me to work in Cambridge, Massachusetts with her, so I came to the Antigua Show in 1989.
That's I think my first Antigua show was, I don't even remember, 12 years ago, and I already believe that I'm a veteran, but compared to you, I'm that's are there a lot of people still from those days that are still active?
I met a captain today whose parents had been here back in the 80s and done some shows and chartered in the Caribbean, so there's so many connections. There are still some people, there are many crews that have retired and live on land here who have been around for a long time, and of course the Nicholson family that is still here in Antigua, and the history on the island, because this is where the show started, this is where their chartering industry started, and so much history.
Yeah, let's go to that history. I think this is a great story, guys. You need to hear this, because what I have heard, and you correct me if I'm wrong, is that Commander Nicholson went sailing and he sailed into Antigua.
That's correct. Yes, it was after World War II, and his family had purchased a boat called the Mollyhawk, a schooner. And originally the reason he purchased it is because during World War II, he had bought a home and there was rationing of equipment, so that it had no dishes and items like that, silverware, and they found this schooner sitting in the mud somewhere, and it had all of the equipment they needed to outfit the house. So while he was away and in his military service, his sons worked on the boat. Rodney and Desmond Nicholson fixed up the sailboat, and when he got back and after the war, they took off for originally planning to go to New Zealand, but they arrived in Antigua and just fell in love with the island.
Because they arrived at Nelson's Dockyard, correct?
That's exactly right, yes. Yeah.
I mean, okay, I'm so happy that story is true, because that's what everybody tells me. And so they basically settled down here, correct?
They settled down here and originally lived in the paymaster's quarters in the dockyard, and then built homes on the island, but started restoring some of the buildings. I mean, they saw the beauty and the value in those old buildings that were there, and the dockyard that had so much history. And when the schooner Mollyhawk was anchored out, there were people who had homes at Mill Reef Club and would come down on I guess it was Pan Am in those days, that flew every 2 weeks, and come over and ask him, can you take me sailing on this boat? So if he'd get one of his sons, Rodney or Desmond, to take the people sailing, and usually he said the typical itinerary was to go to Grenada and back in maybe 2 weeks. But if the Mollyhawk was off sailing, what I was told is that Commander Nicholson would go rowing around the harbor, knocking on hulls, saying, "Would you like to take some people sailing?" And so all these other boats started to join the charter fleet, and I think that then they started calling it charters.
So was he basically he was the foundation of chartering at least in this area, or would you say in the Caribbean or
Absolutely in the Caribbean, yes, yeah. So more and more boats got the idea. Cruising boats got owners got the idea to take people sailing, and that's kind of how it was.
I can just imagine him like rowing around the
Yeah.
bay. I mean, the bay is behind us,
Yeah.
right? And knocking on the hall, saying like, "I've got some guests. Do you want to take them out for like a few
They'll
days?"
pay you.
Exactly. And people are like, "Wow, I love sailing. Why not take a few guests with us?" And that obviously evolved into the destination that it is now.
Yes.
But then he also founded the yacht show.
Yes. After a few years, he realized that they needed to, originally travel agents, because I don't really even think they were charter brokers yet. So they had travel agents coming to look at the yachts, and then sort of the charter brokerage was kind of, industry was formed, and so they would call it Agents Week originally, and they would come.
Is that where the term Agent Week comes from, do you think?
I think it was because originally it was travel agents.
When would you say that it became charter brokerage? Like
Probably when did they become charter brokers? That's a good question. I would say maybe early 60s.
early 60s?
Yes.
My gosh, that was before I was born.
Yeah.
And I was born in the 60s, so I'm not that young. So amazing. So it was the travel agents, and they would come down to visit vessels, to
Yes.
see vessels.
Yes.
And that was, do you remember which year was the first yacht show?
Sometime in the mid-50s. I could look it up, though, actually, no. And
What did Anne-Marie say on stage yesterday? That it was the 67th edition? Is that
that's
possible?
right. So we have to do the math there.
Yeah, it's 24 and then 43. That is 57.
That's about, yeah.
Yeah, so it should be 57. Maybe we skipped 1 year because of COVID, so it could also be 58 or 56.
That's true. That's true. That's a good point. So there would be, you're right, 1 year.
So end 50s.
Yes, in the 50s.
And it's still here. I mean, and we all know that, like, well, it's now the Antigua Charter Yacht Show. Well, you're still involved.
Yes. Yes, I'm on the board and in an advisory capacity, and helping to try and get sponsors and keep the dynamic of the show
Fantastic.
growing
Yeah.
and changing.
Well, we're a sponsor as YATCO,
Improving.
so we're
Yes.
trying to help out, and we have a big heart for this show. I mean, what I love about the show in general is that it brings. It's probably the most relaxed atmosphere. I know the captains and the crew love it. I know the brokers see it as a great opportunity to see the vessels in their natural habitat, and because obviously the vessels are all beautiful, but so now it's the crew and the chef that makes the difference, I believe.
Yes.
And then even the vendors find it amazing because it's like you get so much face time with the decision makers.
Exactly. And then we try and provide educational opportunities with the informative hours about
Exactly.
products or itineraries or destinations, whatever is of interest, we think, to attendees.
I mean, I think in the end, it's like what everybody's looking for, especially in the niche industry. We're a niche industry.
Yes.
Is that like it's about reputation? It's about who you know, and you need to what you can learn. I mean, I was like, we hosted a lunch for another destination today, and it was so nice that all these people come by just because they feel like, well, I might have guests or clients that want to go there, so I need to know something about it at least.
That's right, yeah. It's hard to sell a destination if you haven't been there or don't know a lot about it. So.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's so true. I want to circle back a little bit because, why? Because like, so 57, more or less, the first show was. Then you joined them in 89.
Yes.
And obviously you helped organize the show for a couple of years.
Yes.
Are there any like fun memories, any great stories without, like just the nice ones? Because I don't want to hear all the other ones.
No, very many fond memories. It's amazing how you can come to a place like Antigua, the charter show here, and see people that maybe you met in the Mediterranean somewhere years before, and it's just such a wonderful community and welcoming community. And I also see crew walking down the dock and run into friends that they haven't seen, since they were, I don't know, in Greece or whatever, someplace on the other side of the.
Yeah, because what I feel sometimes, like when you are like traveling on your vessel, even if you're stern to stern in the marina, you do not always get in touch with the people next to you, right?
Yes,
You like
that's right.
you're very much either you're busy and you need some time for yourself, or you need time with your crew. But I feel here, and same with the brokers. It's so nice. Even the brokers, they constantly meet new friends.
Yes, yes.
Because it's like, because that's, if you look at that from it, because you're charter broker and a central agent. Am I correct?
Yes. I'm mostly charter broker. I have a charter fleet manager that works for us, and so I try and focus on the charter brokerage now that I've done everything else.
Well, you're entitled to make your choices now, right? I think it's a big misconception. I mean, I'm not talking to people that know the industry. Is that like a charter broker charters out the vessel and makes all the money? No, it's very much a partnership between the central agent and maybe one or two other charter brokers, correct?
Yes. You think that the charter broker's booking the charter, making a lot of commission. Oftentimes, I work with clients for months before they decide on it.
Exactly.
And then sometimes they'll say, oh, well, we're going to put it off till next year, especially during the pandemic time. So it's not uncommon for me to have worked off and on with a client for 2 or 3 years before they finally book a charter. So there's a lot of work that goes on behind the scenes, and also, even if it was a client booking that called up today and wanted to book a New Year's charter, I'm working very hard to find not only the right yacht to fit them, but right destination and that fits their group. So it's
I mean, because I liked it because we got quite a few comments, and there have been people like within the industry that might even have commented saying like what's the need of a charter broker now? Today with the online communities, you just go to a website and you just click on a boat and you pay with your credit card, but it kind of doesn't work that way. Why is that?
Well, we're here at the boat show to see as many yachts as possible so that we can be familiar with the yachts and the crew and make recommendations to clients. If I haven't seen a yacht in person, before I would recommend it to a client, I would check references and ask the central agent for names of brokers who had booked it. And so I like to be confident that I'm really offering a good selection of yachts to client, and I feel responsible for putting all of that together for them and making sure that they have a great time on board a yacht.
I can imagine if you would look at potential charter guests that are looking, whether it's a smaller boat, but let's say a crude vessel. Let's focus on crude vessel. What's the biggest recommendation you would give people, like when they're like interested? And of course, you're going to say call me, but like besides that.
Recommendation for
people that are interested in chartering as a first-time charterers.
If they've never chartered before, I would say the crew is really more. What I usually say is almost more important than the yacht itself. Obviously you want nice accommodations and the water sports or whatever that your interests are, but really the crew are what make the charter.
Yeah, well, I couldn't agree more with you. And just to elaborate a bit on that, it's like you got different positions on the vessel, and whether you are an elderly couple or whether a family with smaller kids or your group of friends, it doesn't really matter. You've got certain expectations on what, like, you pay significant money for a charter, so you want to enjoy that to the most. You want to know whether the chef can cook what you like, right?
Yes. Sometimes we have clients that are gluten intolerant or have other special diets, and we try and find the right crew to accommodate all of those needs.
I think that's like I think people underestimate. So it's not like renting an Airbnb.
No, it's not at all. No. You're spending a week with complete strangers, essentially, and so you want to make sure it starts off on a good footing with a good match of crew and to your clients. So.
I agree, and what makes me so happy now is that I know that longevity with crew is always an issue, but I see more and more vessels that have like crew for 2, 3, 4, 5 seasons, and that's so important for returning guests, because I still remember that story. It's like was it charter who's now an owner actually, because charter guests buy vessels. That's one of the other thing. That said, like, I was so happy. I remember he said I came back to the vessel the year after, and he had like I think a 10-year-old son, and there was a deckhand that took that son out on the jet ski. So in the year back, they kind of like obviously the son practiced to be able to drive. Came back, wanted to charter the same boat. Came back, deckhand was gone. The kid was devastated. Can you imagine?
No, yes, he must have been looking forward to that.
That's one of those things that I think why you said that crew are so important,
They
because
really
they make they give such a big experience. So if you're chartering a vessel, make sure that you know what kind of crew you want, like what kind of vibe you want on the vessel, what kind of energy. You told me earlier when we presented the biggest you guys when it was still the Nicholson Yacht Show, and now it's the Antigua Charter Yacht Show, you had up to 130 vessels, but they were smaller sailing vessels mainly, right?
Yeah. In the past, we had more sailing vessels here. Now it's powerboats and catamarans, some sailing vessels, but yes, that was probably the largest show I remember, being about 130 yachts.
Because is it true that, like in the old days, with all respect, because the show was until September 15, and then when was the classic sailing race? In April, right?
It's in April.
Yeah, that was the season from like when the show ended until then. That was was 4 months of season. So many great stories. Great, and then obviously, as this is the YATCO channel, so. Thank you so much for being such a loyal YATCO partner.
Well, you're welcome. We have all of our central agency yachts listed on YATCO in the new charter section, which is great. And I also sometimes do a little boutique yacht sales, and so I always list the yachts on YATCO and use YATCO to search for availability of yachts for sale. So it's a great platform. It really is.
Thank you so much. So kind of you. Thank you so much for coming up to the villa. I mean, we're here because it's this beautiful view behind us, and Alexa's behind the camera, and she's building all this beautiful content. We're just sitting here and chit-chatting. She's doing the real work. For people that can't see us, she's basically holding the camera, and she's trying to keep everything stable, and she's giving us signals as well about what we're doing well and what we're doing wrong. So this is amazing. Thank you so much, and thank you so much for popping by, and I hope for many, many more years in the industry.
Yeah, thank you very much. Thank you. NicholsonYachts.com. That's my website.
NicholsonYachts.com. That's the website. Don't forget. Or you go to YATCO.com, because then you can find all her vessels.
Absolutely.
So you got 2 ways of entry. So thank you so much for watching this episode. It's a bit of a different one, because we're doing a few broker interviews. We did a few not full yacht tours, but just yacht highlights. But I really, really wanted to look in this conversation, because everybody that knows Antigua, this is how the yacht show came together, and I think it's a story that we need to record and document. So therefore, thank you again.
Thank you very much.